Satya, mind, body, spirit, health, and healing.
I just had this keen instinct. I was like, man, there's some real pain in his jaw.
This clip comes from Aubrey Marcus's podcast with professional boxer Jake Paul. Notice how Jake intuitively and seamlessly moves away from talking about his body to talking about the emotional and psychological aspects of his life. Something that those of us well-versed in TMS healing, or healing from the mind-body syndrome, understand to be crucial if we intend to heal pain that is manifesting physically. Be aware, as many of the root causes of chronic pain are discussed in this talk, some of those being trauma, over-responsibility and taking on too much, and the inability to feel our own emotions.
I remember just feeling like fuck, so much of this guy's energy, I'm able to share and merge with. And I just had this keen instinct. I was like, man, there's some real pain in his jaw. I remember I laid my head right down to your head and I started doing some deep body work on your jaw, and we just cried together.
Yeah, we were both crying.
We were just both bawling.
Yeah, that was a moment where all of the you carry all of this pressure in the position I am in such a young age with, I think maybe in an extended network, there's 200 people working for me. Not all of them
Sure.
solely rely on me, but thinking about them and being the captain of that ship. And if it all comes down, it's on me.
Yep.
And carrying that,
the pressure and privilege of being a king.
Exactly. But I think it's taken me a while to realize the privilege. I think that's a maturing process because
Right.
everything's happened so fast over the past decade and grown so much, specifically in the past 3.5 years, that a lot of it feels like more so pressure.
Yep.
And I overwork myself. I overextend myself. I think I can do it all. And that's a great trait. And I have to step up to the plate to do it all. I sign myself up, but it's good. I like that. I'm boom, I'll fight anybody. I'll do anything. I'll create this company. I'll invest in this. I'll do that. I'll shoot this commercial. This company's going to be $1 billion. I'll do this podcast. I'll post once a week. I'll be the head of fight relations at the PFL. I'll have my charity. I'll help Amanda Serrano. I'll sign more fighters. And then all of a sudden you're every day you wake up with 20 text messages that important ones that require attentiveness and thought and detail and awareness and critical thinking skills, and a lot of times content to come from them. And then you're carrying all of this, and you kind of have to become numb to it to be able to push through.
Yeah.
And so you redact your emotions and your own. It's a selflessness because you're not even operating for yourself anymore. You're actually just doing things for a higher purpose, which is great. But in some of those moments, and specifically the Toad, that's I think all that shit of what you were feeling. Not to mention my own personal journeys of trauma and my childhood and just even the stuff of the trauma around all the things I went through from 17 to 23, and the media and fallouts and attacks and allegations and lawsuits and falling outs with my brother, and just the list goes on and on. Sure. I feel like I've lived 400 fucking lifetimes, but you carry all these things, and I think in that moment, and I have problems crying I'm not able to cry really, because when I was a kid, my dad would hit me, and then I would like start crying, and then he would be like, "Yo, if you cry, I'm gonna hit you more." And so the first time I was like kept on crying, and then he hit me more, and then after that I was like, "Fuck!" Like I just can't cry.
Yeah.
So like, I have problems like releasing that, and crying is good. Like it's like, oh, you're not tough. Like even people make fun of me. Like I was crying in my brother's locker room after he lost his fight. It's like, no, like I'm strong enough and secure enough as a man to cry, and more men should cry, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to let those things go, and you're gonna feel so much better afterwards. And it shouldn't be this thing that's like frowned upon in our society. And women should also like it too in a man, like, and not be like, oh yeah, you're soft.
Yeah.
But in that moment on Toad, you felt all of these things that like were brought right up to the surface, and
I'm almost crying now. And if crying makes you not a man, you got to put me so far on the not a man threshold. Yeah. Like I'm all the way on the other scale, because I'm deeply in touch with my emotions, and I understand that there's a time for no fucking tears. There's a time where the king and the warrior have to step forward and say, fall in behind me, no matter what hell is coming, no matter what storm is on the horizon, like, follow me, men. And you can't have the king that falls into tears and collapses under the weight, because there's a whole host of people who are relying on you to lead and relying on you to provide the resources for their families and their careers and their lives. And then you extend that even further. There's a whole world that's, you have the opportunity and both the privilege and responsibility to deliver the best message of truth that you can to that world. And so all of this responsibility and pressure, there's times where you just can't cry. And
maybe it's not going to be hard at all. Maybe when the frequency gets to that point, it's going to be like the wind blows across your cheek and suddenly you're rejuvenated. Your back is feeling better.
If you found this to be meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe to support and encourage future creations of this kind. And if you feel the guidance of someone who has been walking this path for some time would be helpful for you, I would love to work with you. I am now accepting bookings at howtosayfupolitely.com.